Good morning, Cube curators. Welcome back to another Cube and Coffee. This morning, I wanted to talk about inspiration in cube design and how we can, as curators, design cubes that are novel and fun to play, right? So we're always looking to innovate. We're looking to drive our cube to the next level. Like no one wants to build a boring cube, right? I've fallen into these ruts before in my own cube design with my own personal cube. How do I build out a cube archetype or a color or a theme in my cube that is going to feel interesting, right? And this harkens back to the earliest days of our experience with Magic. I remember as a little kid, like, building my own deck, trying to come up with new and novel ways that found new interactions and designs so that I could like beat my neighborhood friend with this cool, interesting design that no one had ever seen before. I think inside every cube curator is a brewer, right? Someone who wants to build something unique that everyone else in the cube community and Magic community would be like, wow, that's awesome. And even as, taking that feeling from being a little kid has never left us as we've grown older and become cube designers, right? That hasn't faded. Just instead of trying to make that, 60 card deck, it's become more complex in cube design as we're trying to build 360, 540, 180 tuberts into rich, diverse, archetypical driven environments that everyone wants to play. So what if you, as a cube designer, have fallen into a rut and you look at your cube and you feel like, hey, these colors are very linear. I'm almost bored. Like everyone's doing the same thing that I'm doing. What if all of your red archetype is just aggro, right? How do we get out of that rut? So when that happens to me, I like to pull on one of the things that Mark Rosewater calls the golden trifecta of Magic, and that's the color pie. You see, the color pie, according to Mark Rosewater and even Richard Garfield, is really the essence of Magic the Gathering, its core essence. The Magic color pie is full of depth and relationship among the colors, and it's one of the reasons why Magic is such, as a game, is so intriguing, and like the replayability is there is because of this relationship and intrigue. Now, each color has a very rich psychology that as a cube curator you can dive into to field inspiration for how you want to build out those sections of your cube. For example, red psychology is one of like freedom, independence, creation, chaos, emotion, impulsivity, and recognizing that psychology in red as a curator can help you in designing the specific types of goals and experience and archetypes and gameplay that you want red to have. So let's take, for example, Caleb Gannon's red section in his Powered Synergy Cube. If you watch Magic content online on YouTube, looking at you right now, then you've likely heard of Caleb Gannon and watched his content. He's a very prolific, well-known player. And he was privileged to have his cube, his Powered Synergy Cube, hosted on Magic Online a while back for a few weeks. And his cube was received with much fanfare. Players loved it. Why was that, right? It's because Caleb's cube presented drafters with synergistic and interesting archetypes, nonlinear archetypes to build and draft, right? And he, in his red section, he curated kind of 6 major archetypes. And they were Storm, fed by cards like Bonus Round. He had lands in there with like Valakut Exploration. He had a Sacrifice theme driven by cards like Greater Gargaron. He had Discard and Madness, payoffs with cards like Anger. He also had Artifacts with cards like Goblin Welder. And he had a Spells Matter, but like in a fun way, right? With like Kark the Thumbless. So right there, right? 6 diverse strategies for red that are true to red's psychology that were interesting to play, interesting to draft and build. if you're interested in reading more about the specific archetypes that Caleb built in his environment, he has an article on each of the colors for that cube on his website, and I'll link it down below. So you can see how these archetypes that fit into the psychology of red, right? Starting with that color pie identity can lead to you as a curator getting inspiration to find out how to like flesh out the archetypes in your cube so they aren't boring. So, anyways, I hope that all y'all can find inspiration by diving into Magic's color pie when you're trying to get yourself out of a rut or flesh out a new and creative way to build out a color or color pair for archetypes in your own personal environments. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for chilling with me here. Don't touch that dial and let's keep cubing.